Happy New Year, and what a year Calgary has had. All I can say is wow. I'm pretty confident that we have yet another exciting year ahead of us as well. I'm going to be making these update videos every single month all year long, so make sure to watch all 4 videos that will be coming later this week where I break down each property type and try to figure out which properties are in the most demand in each quadrant. But anyways, my name's Fyfe and I'm your future Calgary realtor. If you're thinking about making a move to Calgary and you have some questions about what that could look like, click the very first link in the description and go ahead, book a call. We can discuss the market in a given area, create a game plan, or simply just introduce ourselves to make sure we can vibe with each other and we can answer a few questions. Upon some user demand, and instead of reading this in its entirety, you can now pause the video and read it on your own. But I'm still going to recap it. And what it says is that Calgary saw record high sales and double-digit price growth in 2022, even though sales significantly slowed down in the second half of the year. So even with those slowing sales, Calgary was faced with persistently low levels of inventory, which prevented large decreases in home prices. Now, with the slower second half of the year, Calgary is still up 12% compared to last year. The housing market in 2022 generally outperformed expectations both in terms of sales and price growth. It was great to see how resilient Calgary can be in a shifting market. With the low cost of living, lots of sunshine, and a great lifestyle, Calgary is still attracting many Canadians around our country. So let's start this off by looking at the total residential prices for all of Calgary. Now, from a quick glance, you can see that total residential prices are still up almost 8% from December of last year. We are down 5% from the highs that we saw in May. So to put that into perspective, this is the price in December versus that 5% difference in May. So if you see that, we are down about $28,000. Not much in my personal opinion. Now, we do have to remember that this is total residential, so all property types morphed into one stat. Now, here's each property type for the entire city. You can see that each property type is still above 9% year over year, where townhouses is actually at 14% year over year. If you take a peek at the blue arrows in each section here, you can see that all 4 property types have flatlined, meaning the rise of interest rates have definitely worked. But we are not seeing that steep decrease like Toronto and Vancouver, which were very inflated in the first place. So, of course, prices have fallen, but I don't think they've fallen as fast as some people have anticipated they would. So for context, here are the prices from our May highs of this year. Total residential, detached, and semis have decreased, whereas townhouses and apartments have actually increased since our May highs. Let's peek at the map that showcases total residential prices for every quadrant in Calgary. So all property types in that specific quadrant combined into one stat. You can see that the north, northeast, east, and southeast are doing quite well year over year, whereas northwest, west, and south, while still seeing an increase, just didn't grow as much as other quadrants. Now, I do look forward to breaking it down and seeing which property types in those quadrants are pushing those numbers up. And I would have to make a guess that it's most likely the townhouses and the apartments as showcased in the previous slide. Okay, so let's start to paint a picture of what the heck is happening here month over month, as it's quite important to try and dictate what may happen in the new year as interest rates continue to rise if you plan on getting in the market. Again, this is total residential. If you're interested in a specific property type, browse the channel. Now, this is a snapshot of every month's stats from January to December, both this year and last year. You can spend a lot of time here, but for the sake of the video, I'm only going to go over a few things that I think are worth noting. If you want to dive into it a little bit more, 1, pause the video and read it on your own, and 2, book a call with me and we can talk about these things in a lot more detail. So let's get it going. Now, we can see that the month of December is the 7th month in a row to see a decrease or a decline in the benchmark price, as we talked about earlier. Now, it's steadily decreasing, yes, but we're still up about $37,000, almost $38,000 compared to last year. It will be interesting to see what happens over the winter months as things continue to slow down and see just how those numbers will be affected come our spring market. Let's look. Moving along, it's pretty obvious that sales, new listings, and inventory have all declined. There were only 1,200 sales in the past month, down about 500 sales from last year, and 2,800 sales from the highs that we saw in February. Days on market finally increased to 46 days, which is expected for the slow month of December. Okay, so let's figure out which quadrants are in the most demand and which are not. Now, this is a graph that visualizes the months of supply for each quadrant. Now, if you need an explanation of what that is, please watch my video explaining how to understand these reports. But from a quick glance, you can see that property types around 1.5 months and below are still in a seller's market, favoring the seller during the negotiation. Now, the caveat to that is the listing has to be competitive, well priced, with great marketing and availability for showings. Those who list homes above the neighboring sales in their community will most likely struggle to sell quickly, as the market is still shifting to a buyer's market as a whole, favoring the buyer. Now, you can see a few property types at and above 3 months of supply, which indicates those properties are already in a buyer's market. We can see some areas are still in demand, but the communities in those quadrants would be your next step to figuring out what the negotiation process could look like if you got into the negotiation in that area. Now, let's be clear. Affordable product in Calgary, so the things priced between $250,000 and $450,000, are still in strong demand. The strongest property type in this chart is townhouses, as townhouses are typically inexpensive compared to semis or detached homes, and you can still get a lot of your own space. This is why consultations are so important. Who wants to blindly look at homes and get burnt on the negotiation if you don't know what to expect? If an agent just shows you homes without trying to explain the market in the area, figure out your personal situation, and what the negotiation process could look like, it may be worth asking more in-depth questions and interviewing a couple other agents before making any real commitments. A realtor is like a lawyer. Having someone negotiate on your behalf is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. Now, like usual, I'm not going to read this out, but if you are interested in a certain property type, pause the video and watch what the Calgary Real Estate Board has to say about each. Understanding the general market before selling or buying a house is so important when considering how comfortable you will be in making fast decisions when you are in a negotiation situation. So do the research first. Okay, so finally, the microeconomic outlook for each property type in each quadrant. Now, I will break this down in a lot more detail in those videos later this week. But while we're here, let's touch on a couple of things. Now, for the month of December, you can see that every single quadrant for the detached sector sold more homes than were listed that month, which equates to over 100% sales to new listing ratio. You can see that these property types in the respective quadrants also saw more sales than were listed that month. You can see that these property types here are still in demand, being at or under 1.5 months of supply, while these property types are above 3 months. Now, remember, this could affect the way that you negotiate on either side of the transaction. Here are your benchmark prices for every property type in their quadrant. Here are the largest year-over-year gains, with some of the wild ones at 15%. And your month-over-month stats as well. Now, you can see that there are a few property types that saw decreases of over 1%, which are here. And you can see that some property types are over 1%. Now, just to reiterate, although things are slowing down as a whole, I did go over that very quickly, there's still a lot of movement in the market here in Calgary. If you're looking to make a move or some sort of investment, please make sure to prepare yourself well in advance, as every area in Calgary has a different story. Take the time, break down the numbers, do your research, and find a realtor that you can trust. This is only a recap here. If you have any questions, please go ahead, text me, call me, or better yet, book a time in my calendar link below. I truly hope that you got some value from these videos. I know they can be somewhat dry and boring, but my goal is to educate you and bring you real, tangible value, not just another fluffy story you can find on YouTube, or really some nonsense that you can find on the news. Make sure to browse my channel for other related content. I do plan on bringing you a lot more information from industry professionals in the coming months, so strap in, and until next time, peace.